everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Tabs. I have been having a ton of fun with this game recently, but there is two units that have caught my interest more than any others. And that is the Dark Peasant and the Super Peasant. These two units are clearly the most powerful units in the game, and the most expensive, costing one short of 10 million. To put that in perspective, that is this many tanks times 10. The tank is joint third place for price with the Ice Giant. So, I think you get the idea. This is really expensive. In today's episode, we are truly going to test the limits of the Dark Peasant and the Super Peasant and see which is truly the most powerful unit in Tabs. Let's get right into it. We are going to be watching the world burn in today's episode, so let's start off with putting the Dark Peasant up against 167 tanks. Let's see if he can pull it off. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Dark Peasant has taken the win. But do you reckon the Super Peasant will live up to what the Dark Peasant just achieved? Or will this competition be over before it's even begun? Next up, against the tanks, is the Super Peasant. The Super Peasant has been in the game since pretty much the very start, along with the Dark Peasant. Being the two most powerful units in the game now, the Dark Peasant was originally more powerful, but then the Super Peasant is now ascended to be possibly even more powerful than the Dark Peasant. And we are going to find that out in today's episode. So, let's see if the Super Peasant can do what the Dark Peasant did and kill all of these tanks, or will it fall at the first hurdle? And there we have it. The Super Peasant has taken the win, just as the Dark Peasant did. So if we go back, oh, my screen's broken once again. But next, we're going to try the Dark Peasant against the Super Peasant. You're gonna want to see this, because I think the outcome will surprise you. So now, guys, we have the Dark Peasant, we have the Super Peasant. Now, who will win this one? Well, I'm going to put my money on the Super Peasant, because if we look at these two units, we can see a very big difference between them. The Dark Peasant is specialised in range units. He can block almost any projectile, and he shoots from a distance, which makes range units not be able to touch him. Whilst he also has some specialised features for melee units too, he's generally considered to be more well known for defeating ranged units. However, the Super Peasant is all about the melee. He, like the Dark Peasant, is very able in killing ranged units, as he can just very quickly fly back. However, he is more equipped to kill melee units. But with his speed and his incredibly powerful punches, I would imagine that this battle is going to be very quick and the Super Peasant will take the victory over the Dark Peasant. Let's see how it plays out. The Super Peasant is flying. Will the Dark Peasant be able to drag it away in time? The answer is no. This looks like it's going to be quite a short battle, with the Dark Peasant getting pounded into the ground by the Super Peasant. The particles are so strong that we can barely see any of the action. The Dark Peasant and the Super Peasant are clearly both getting massive hits in on each other. This really could go either way, but the Dark Peasant has not got any shots off apart from the explosions. And there we have it. The Super Peasant has defeated the Dark Peasant. This is the only time that I have seen a unit defeat the Dark Peasant the Super Peasant is the only unit I have seen that has been able to defeat the Dark Peasant that easily. Let's see that in full speed. And we can clearly see just how fast that battle was. It was not really a competition. Let's see if we can do that again, but take control of the Dark Peasant to see how quickly it attacks. Look at that. Each one of those punches is doing enormous damage, and the Dark Peasant is dead. Just like that. But of course, we can't just judge it off of this, because even though the Super Peasant is equipped to kill the Dark Peasant, it doesn't mean that it will be against everything else, seeing as the Dark Peasant is specialised in other areas, whereas the Super Peasant is built almost perfectly to kill the Dark Peasant without any hindrance. So, let's move on to the next part of the video. As you can see, we've got the Dark Peasant surrounded by a bunch of wizards. Now, it's not very well known that the wizard's projectile actually cannot be blocked by the Dark Peasant's hands, for some odd reason. This is also the same with samurai and other things, so if you're trying to do some sort of campaign, then you might want to bear that in mind, that it's a very good strategy when you're faced with large amounts of samurai. However, the Dark Peasant counts, of course, as 1,000,000 samurai. So, we're gonna see if this group of wizards here can even hurt the Dark Peasant or even kill it. Let's see if it will work. So immediately the Dark Peasant blows the wizards away, but as you can see, it hasn't been able to block the projectile and has been hit by the first hit and is about to explode into the wizard's lightning. After this initial volley, we're going to test to see how much health the Dark Peasant has left after his little spin. He's spinning just like any other unit would. Even the all-powerful Dark Peasant falls to the power of the wizard. Let's see how much health that did, and it has actually done damage to the Dark Peasant. This is all we needed to know, guys, as this means that the Dark Peasant can of course be killed if we tone this up even more. Of course, we're going to do this test as well with the Super Peasant. However, this test was very much designed for the Dark Peasant's weaknesses, so bear that in mind when we're looking at the results. However, I don't think there's going to be a problem for the Dark Peasant here, but I just want to know how much damage is being dealt. And as we can see, that if the wizards were unable to die, they would have eventually killed the peasant, as that didn't take them too long to do even more damage to the peasant than the 167 tanks we used before. Okay, let's use the Super Peasant in this test. Now, I don't think that there's going to be much opposition from the wizards to the Super Peasant here. However, if they do manage to hit it, they could send it miles in the air and possibly get a ring out. So, let's see how that goes for them. And they do appear to have hit. However, it really matters now whether that will send the Super Peasant up or not, which, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have done. The Super Peasant is getting blown up in the air and then is coming crashing back down, blowing the wizards aside like they are nothing. This is truly a spectacle. Now, later in the video, we're going to try some units that were made by me to see if we can kill either of these two units using them. And there's one that I have a feeling will do that to both of them, possibly. It uses once again the wizard's lightning, but fires it at a much faster pace. You're gonna want to see this, guys. And that is actually the first victory over the Super Peasant. That is phenomenal, guys. Unlike the Dark Peasant, the Super Peasant didn't even manage to kill half of the wizards. This is very unexpected. So, as I said, the trial that was designed for the Dark Peasant clearly shows that the Super Peasant appears to have less health. This is going to be important going later down the line. The next test is going to be whether the peasant can be frozen by the Chronomancer. The Chronomancer was added in the latest update and has an incredibly unique ability. So, let's see how this goes and if the Dark Peasant's hands can even block the Chronomancer's projectiles. So, as you can see, these close ones are gonna get blown back, but they will survive, and we've got some further back just in case these ones all get killed. So, I cannot see the Dark Peasant. I think he's dead. There he is, he's flying. He is actually being frozen, but only kind of, as he still seems to be moving, but is flying in the air, upside down. So the Chronomancer is having a very odd effect on the Dark Peasant, where he doesn't seem to be firing any of his projectiles. However, the ball of hands that surrounds him is still being active, which means that possibly the Dark Peasant could still have a chance of beating this incredibly strong army. And of course, we have to remember that at some point soon the Chronomancers are going to transform, and this could be a real problem for the Dark Peasant. So let's see how this goes, and if any of the Chronomancers even manage to if any of the Chronomancers even manage to get to that point, or if the Dark Peasant will just kill them with one hit of his slam down. Let's go into full speed, because I have a feeling, with all of the time freezing, this is going to take quite a while. So, the Dark Peasant seems to be getting thrown around here, which is quite interesting. But now he's managed to get some distance from the Chronomancers, which means that he's not going to be able to get frozen, as the Dark Peasant has one of the longest ranges in the game. So, I think the Dark Peasant is now going to win incredibly easy, without any of the Chronomancers transforming at all. And there we go, the Peasant has won it, but with some problems. So we're going to go through that again, and just near the end, I'll cut to just near the end, where I'll take over the Dark Peasant, we'll see his health. And as you can see, the Chronomancers didn't manage to do any damage to the Dark Peasant whatsoever. Or at least not a significant amount, as if we look closely we can see that a slither has been taken off, but it's really not having any effect on the Dark Peasant's health bar. It only affects his ability to shoot, which means that it'll take longer for the Peasant to be able to kill the Chronomancers. Let's move on to the Super Peasant. We now have the Super Peasant in the middle of all of our Chronomancers, and we're going to see if this has an effect on him. Now, this task was designed for, once again, for the Super Peasant, because the Super Peasant's whole thing is being incredibly fast. But if he can't be fast anymore, and we've learnt that he has less health than the Dark Peasant, does that mean that the Chronomancers will be able to kill him in time? Let's find out. So the Super Peasant is immediately flying around and doesn't seem to be getting hit. However, we do have one of the Chronomancers transforming this time, which wasn't allowed to happen with the Dark Peasant. However, they seem to have some sort of flinging ability on the Super Peasant. Now it's going to be very interesting what that Chronomancer is going to do to our Super Peasant, as now it's transformed, it will freeze everything in an area of effect mode and be a lot stronger. So, let's see what's happening here. The Super Peasant keeps getting hit by all of the rays, and it is having an enormous effect on the Super Peasant, who doesn't have the hands that can still act like the Dark Peasant. So, it's seeming, out of these battles, that the Super Peasant is the weaker of the two. And as we can see, a quarter of their health bar has been taken off by the Chronomancers, and if they keep launching away, they might not win this one. And it might only take a couple more Chronomancers to defeat the Super Peasant. The almighty Super Peasant has almost fallen to 2 of the different challenges now, and it's not looking good for them. I have a feeling that after this, we will truly be able to say that the Dark Peasant is the strongest. However, we still have a lot more tests to go, and we could be proven wrong. And now, guys, this battle is not going anywhere. The Chronomancers are able to continuously launch the Super Peasant back, not letting it get a single hit off. I think we can call this battle over. There was almost a twist there. Maybe I was wrong, but the Super Peasant doesn't seem to be able to do anything, and it is now in the red health, meaning it only has a quarter of its health left to go. I have a feeling that if this doesn't win, then we'll only need a couple more Chronomancers to beat it if this does not win. However, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a fight at all, as a large amount of our Chronomancers has survived. And there we have it, guys. The fall of a Titan. This is the Super Peasant's second loss in a row. And of course, this level was of course manufactured for the Super Peasant. However, the last one was manufactured for the Dark Peasant. So we cannot say that this is an unfair advantage for the Dark Peasant, as I have done 2 challenges that was manufactured for the Dark Peasant and the Super Peasant. This is looking like it's going to be a Dark Peasant win all the way. For the next challenge, I now have 3/10 of the Peasant's value surrounding them in super boxes, which, yes, I know, I was wrong in the intro, I noticed, and that's why there was a correction, obviously. So, let's try this out and see if the Dark Peasant will prevail over 3/10 of its value. This will be an incredibly disappointing loss if the Dark Peasant does lose. Let's try. And after an incredibly long fight, the Dark Peasant has come out on top. And it didn't seem to be a problem for him, but will it be a problem for the Super Peasant? I am once again gonna cut to the end to spare you guys having to watch the lag, but first we'll just watch a little bit of the battle to see what's going on. So the Super Peasant is flying around and seems to actually be killing the Super Boxers a lot faster than the Dark Peasant was. Let's cut ahead to a little bit later to see how this goes down. And after another incredibly long fight, the Super Peasant has won. And I think my tabs has actually crashed because it doesn't seem to be moving and pressing tab is doing nothing. So I'll be right back in 1 second. And we're back, and that just about does it for the normal units that I wanted to test on these 2. However, there is a few more that I want to try. Let me introduce you to them. We have the very embodiment of capitalism and the very embodiment of communism. Say hi to Stalin, everybody. We have Papyrus. We have Sans. We have this incredibly intimidating unit called the Fallen. We have King Duplo. We have King ASA. So we're gonna go in order, starting with capitalism. Now, I think this is going to be an easy win for capitalism, because all it needs to do is get inside the Dark Peasant's bubble of hands and shoot it with its shotgun. So after waiting for a few more minutes with the Dark Peasant battle, absolutely nothing happened. So we're going to move on to putting capitalism against the Super Peasant, and I have a feeling that I know who's going to win this one, because unlike the Dark Peasant, the Super Peasant is not able to block projectiles, and unfortunately for the Super Peasant, that is what capitalism is all about. Shooting things. So I have a feeling that this poor Super Peasant is just gonna get shot. Let's see if I'm right. And there we go. The Super Peasant has been shot once again, showing its weakness to ranged units. But that's all about to change, because next we have communism. Communism is very different to capitalism because it is all about the melee, whereas capitalism is all about the guns. Let's see if this is going to go anywhere. I have a feeling that the Dark Peasant is just going to get killed with one hit of that hammer if communism can get close enough. Let's go. So the quick commandment from Stalin to the Dark Peasant. The peasant seems to be rebelling and deciding he wants a more equal society than the one he's already got, but Stalin wasn't having any of it, and we have the second fall of the Dark Peasant after being killed by the Super Peasant. This is the second time we've seen this in this episode, and we have seen it 3 or 4 times from the Super Peasant already, so this is already quite a difference. So let's try the Super Peasant and see if this is going to be any different. 3, 2, 1, let's go! And the Super Peasant is in there getting a few good punches. Another shout from Stalin, but the Super Peasant isn't having any of it, and Stalin got to hit him with that hammer. And we can clearly see that Stalin is showing his dominance over capitalism. Anyway, let's move on to the next unit. There we have it, the third loss of the Dark Peasant this episode. However, I don't think it's going to be any different for the Super Peasant. So next up, we have Sans, and this is truly going to be a battle of the Titans. Let's see if Sans is going to be able to kill the Dark Peasant and the Super Peasant, just like Papyrus did. Come on, Sans, I believe in you. So it does take a bit for Sans to charge up, and he is just like a wizard, but so much faster, like some sort of ultra laser, and the Dark Peasant is taking so many hits. This is truly a battle of the Titans. The Dark Peasant just needs to hit all of his shots to win this one before he falls to the lightning, and half of the Dark Peasant's health bar is already gone. I think we were going to have a clear winner by the end of this one. Let's see. Sans is still on full health. He hasn't been bothering about any of this stuff. And of course, Sans is the winner. So next up, we're trying out the Super Peasant. Let's go. Let's see who's going to win this one. And they're flying off. Sans is firing his laser. He's firing his laser. And they're going up and up and up. And the winner was, of course, Sans. So, let's move on to the next unit. Next up, we have an invincible unit. So, let's see if the Dark Peasant will actually be able to kill this thing, or whether this battle will go on forever. We're going to take control of this thing, because it really doesn't do anything. And the answer is no. The answer is no, it's completely invincible and the Dark Peasant can't do anything. So, let's move on to ending the video. So, in conclusion, we found that the Dark Peasant is actually a lot stronger than the Super Peasant in lots of ways. And we also found that the Super Peasant, even though it's manufactured to perfectly kill the Dark Peasant, isn't necessarily the strongest against everything else, coming out with a much lower score in terms of all of the units that we tried than the Dark Peasant. And trust me, I tried quite a few more other than the ones that you saw in this video. But of course I couldn't show them all, because then the video would be hours long. Trust me. But the Dark Peasant won in all of the ones that I tried other than the ones in the video, and the Super Peasant lost in all of them, surprisingly. So, that just about brings us to the end of the video. So remember to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out and keeps me motivated to keep making content like this. Also remember to like if you really enjoyed this video, then if you like, I'll make more tabs content for you guys. Because you gotta remember that I'm making this for you guys, as well as my own enjoyment, of course. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.